My apartment faces the alley, and so did he. I live in a mid-sized city where no one really knows their neighbors. That's fine with me. I'm a private person, mid-20s, single, work-from-home graphic designer. I live on the third floor of a small brick apartment building that's old but charming in that creaky floorboards kind of way. The only downside? My living room window looks out over a narrow alley. Not ideal, but rent is cheap, and the alley only sees the occasional cat or trash truck. Or it used to. This started in early March. I was pulling an all-nighter for a client deadline when I noticed someone standing in the alley. Just standing. No phone, no smoke, no pacing. Just staring up. At first I thought maybe it was someone waiting for a ride. But he stayed for over 30 minutes. I turned off my lamp, crouched behind the blinds, and watched. He never moved. Just kept looking up. I couldn't be sure, but I think he was looking at my window. A week went by. Nothing. I almost forgot about it, until he came back. Same guy. Pale skin. No hat or hood. Same black hoodie and jeans. No expression. Just standing there, watching. I called the non-emergency line. Cops came, but he was already gone. They said they'd patrol the area more often. Then it got worse. He started showing up every night. Always around 2 a.m. Always standing in the same spot. After a few nights, I noticed something chilling. He wasn't looking at my window anymore. He was looking slightly up and to the left. That's my bedroom window. I stopped sleeping in there. Slept on the couch with all the lights on. My anxiety spiked. I stopped working. I stopped eating. I bought pepper spray, then a taser. Then a crowbar. One night, I got bold. I cracked the window, just a sliver, and screamed down at him. Told him I'd call the cops. Told him I had weapons. He didn't move. He didn't even flinch. Just slowly turned his head toward the window I was at, not startled, just like he'd been waiting. I slammed the window shut and hid in the bathtub with the door locked until sunrise. Then the notes started. Folded scraps of paper slid under my front door. No envelopes. Just messages. The first one said, "You look better when you're sleeping." The next, "The window lies." Then, "I know the sound your fridge makes when you open it at 2:07 a.m. I freaked. I called the police again. This time they took me more seriously. They had a squad car outside for a few nights, but the man never came back during those times. The moment they left, he returned. I moved out 2 weeks later. Broke my lease, packed in one day, left furniture behind. Slept on a friend's couch for a while before getting a new place across town, one with no alley, no fire escape, no windows without blinds. It's been 5 months. I thought I was safe. Until last night. My phone buzzed at 2:07 a.m. Unknown number. No text, just an image. A photo of me, asleep on my new couch. Let's not meet. Ever. Again. I don't post here often. Honestly, I never thought I'd have a story worth sharing. I always read the posts, the ones about creepy encounters, weird neighbors, unexplainable things in the woods, but figured nothing that unsettling would ever happen to me. I live a pretty quiet life. I'm 27, a graphic designer, working freelance since the pandemic made remote jobs the norm. I've never been particularly social, so I rent a modest third-floor apartment in a crumbling but affordable red brick building on the edge of downtown. It's not the nicest part of the city, but it's not the worst either. The building has 8 units total, 4 on each floor. Mine is 3B. There's no elevator, just a dim stairwell with flickering lights and peeling green paint. My front door opens into a small living room with hardwood floors and a big window that overlooks an alleyway behind the building. That window is important. The alley is narrow, maybe 10 feet wide, walled in by the backs of other buildings and our own. It's not pitch dark, a single yellowish streetlight at the end throws a long, distorted shadow between the dumpsters and cracked pavement. I've lived here for almost 2 years. Nothing strange ever happened, not really. Sure, sometimes I'd hear weird late-night noises, clattering bottles, the occasional shout, but this is a city. That's background noise. It started on March 3rd. I remember because I was working late on a logo redesign for a corporate client who kept changing their mind about the font. Around 2 a.m., I got up to stretch, walked over to the window, and noticed something odd. There was a man in the alley. At first, I didn't think much of it. People cut through the alley sometimes. But this guy wasn't moving. He was just standing still. Dead center in the alley, directly across from my window. He had on a dark hoodie, the hood was down, and jeans. Pale skin. Couldn't see his eyes, not really, but his head was tilted up, and I got the distinct feeling he was looking right at me. I instinctively stepped back behind the curtain, my heart ticking up a notch. But I peeked through a slit. He didn't move. He just kept standing there, like a statue. After 5 minutes, I figured maybe he was waiting for someone. Or maybe he was high. I went back to my desk. I didn't want to give it energy. But when I checked again, an hour later, he was still there. Same position. Same dead stare. I turned off my lights and sat in the dark, just watching him. A strange chill crept over me. I couldn't see his face clearly, but somehow I knew he was still staring. Not at the building. Not even at the 3rd floor. At my specific window. Eventually, around 4 a.m., he was gone. Just gone. No footsteps, no noise, no sign of him leaving. I chalked it up to a weird one-off thing. Cities are full of weirdos. But I started sleeping with the curtains drawn. What I didn't know then was that this was just the beginning. The next few nights, I stayed up later than usual. Not because I wanted to, I was just on edge. Every creak of the old pipes or shift of the floorboards made me pause whatever I was doing and glance toward the window. He didn't come back for 5 nights. I almost convinced myself I imagined it, or maybe exaggerated it. Maybe he wasn't even looking at me. Maybe he was just some sad drunk who lost his way. But then, on March 8th, he returned. It was 1:57 a.m. when I saw movement outside. Same alley. Same spot. Same man. This time, I kept my light off and stayed crouched low behind the curtain. It was easier to look without being seen. The way he stood there, motionless, it made my skin crawl. He wasn't shifting his weight or checking his phone or leaning against the wall. Just standing. Head tilted slightly up. Eyes locked in what felt like a dead stare. I watched for a full 20 minutes before stepping away. I went to the bathroom, splashed water on my face, came back, and he was still there. But now, he was a few steps closer. Still on the ground, still in the alley, but maybe 2 or 3 steps forward. I hadn't seen him move. I called the non-emergency police line, feeling stupid even as I dialed. I told the dispatcher what was happening. She was polite, if a bit dismissive, said they'd send a car by, but that unless he was trespassing or making threats, there wasn't much they could do. The squad car showed up about 20 minutes later. By then, of course, the alley was empty. The officer looked around with a flashlight, checked the back gate, knocked on my door. I didn't answer. I didn't want him to know which unit I lived in. Still, I felt better. Safer. Maybe the sight of a police car would scare him off for good. It didn't. The very next night, I woke up to a soft noise, a low tap. I thought it was a dream at first, but then I heard it again. Tap. 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 I sat up on the couch, heart pounding. I didn't move. I listened. Then again, tap tap tap. It was coming from the living room window. I couldn't bring myself to look. I just sat there, under the blanket, gripping my phone with both hands. The tapping stopped after a minute. I never saw him that night. But in the morning, when I finally opened the curtain, I found a smear on the glass, right at eye level. A long, greasy fingerprint smear, as if someone had dragged their hand slowly across the pane. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just some guy hanging around the alley. He was here for me. After the greasy fingerprint incident, I bought blackout curtains. Not just regular ones. The kind meant for nurseries or graveyard shift workers, thick, layered, with Velcro edges so not a sliver of light could leak in or out. I kept them shut 24/7. I even stuffed towels along the windowsill. But even then, I felt him. I'd sit in silence with my laptop and feel a crawling sensation along the back of my neck. Like I was being watched through the wall. Like his presence was a pressure in the air, invisible, but constant. I tried to tell myself it was just nerves. Sleep deprivation. Paranoia. Then came the first note. It was folded in half, slid under my door while I was in the shower. No envelope, no signature. Just a message in all caps on lined notebook paper. You're different when you're awake. That was it. No name. No demands. Just a sentence that hit me like a punch to the chest. I checked the hallway immediately. No one. I went down the stairwell, nothing. But my hands were shaking. I couldn't breathe properly for an hour. I called the cops again. This time they came in pairs. One talked to me while the other checked the building. They took the note and filed a report. Again, unless I caught him in the act or he broke in, they couldn't do much. The officer's tone said it all. I was just another stressed-out tenant with a ghost problem. I bought a door jammer the next day. Then a second lock. Then a camera, one of those little Wi-Fi ones that syncs to your phone. I set the camera up inside the living room, aimed at the window. Just to be sure. A few nights later, I checked the footage out of curiosity. Mostly it was nothing, me working, eating, scrolling aimlessly on my phone. But on March 19th, at exactly 2:07 a.m., the screen froze. I assumed it was a glitch. But when the footage resumed 5 seconds later, something was off. The curtain, the one I kept sealed, had shifted. Just a fraction. Barely noticeable. Like a hand had gently brushed against it. And in the upper left corner of the frame, there was a reflection in the glass. A face. Not mine. I tried to tell myself the reflection was a trick of the light. A glitch in the camera. But that face, pale, wide-eyed, expressionless, haunted me. I replayed that 5-second freeze over and over, pausing on the exact frame. The curtain had moved. The reflection was there. And when I zoomed in, I could make out eyes. Dark and empty. Not blinking. That night, I slept with the lights on and a crowbar next to the couch. I didn't even trust my own bedroom anymore. I kept thinking, what if he's already been inside? What if he knows the layout? What if he's watching me now, from somewhere I can't see? The next day, I checked every lock, every window. I slid paper wedges into the sashes and marked their corners with pencil lines, a trick I saw in a home security forum. If anything moved, I'd know. That evening, something did move. Not the windows. Not the door. My toothbrush. I always left it in the ceramic cup by the sink. That night, I found it resting on the edge of the sink, bristles down, damp. I hadn't used it yet. It sounds like a small thing, but it's not. I live alone. I don't misplace things. Especially not something as routine as where I keep my toothbrush. The next morning, I found the toothpaste cap missing. Not dropped. Not fallen behind anything. Gone. I started keeping a list. 3/20, toothbrush moved. March 21st, toothpaste cap missing. March 22nd, kitchen cabinet left ajar, I always close it. March 23rd, wet footprint near the bath mat, but I hadn't showered. I was spiraling. I knew it. I started leaving my phone camera running while I was asleep. I set up a second one in the kitchen. I even tied thread across my bedroom doorway at ankle height so I'd know if someone passed through. The thread never moved. But something else did. On March 24th, I woke up to find a Polaroid on my floor. It was tucked under the couch leg, half hidden. A small white-bordered square of glossy film. When I picked it up, my hand started shaking uncontrollably. It was a photo of me, asleep on the couch, mouth slightly open, blanket pulled up to my chest. Taken from inside the apartment. I can't explain the horror of realizing someone was here while I slept. That they got close enough to take a photo, bend down, and slide it under the couch leg like some kind of taunt. There was something scrawled on the back in red ink. Just 4 words. I miss your bed. I didn't sleep the night I found the Polaroid. I couldn't. I sat on the floor with my back to the wall, crowbar clutched so tightly my knuckles went white. I stared at the bedroom door, half expecting him to just walk out of it. When the sun rose, I packed a duffel bag, drove across the city, and spent the night on my friend Danielle's couch. She's one of the few people I trust. We went to design school together. I hadn't told her everything yet, just the vague outline. Creepy guy in the alley. Weird noises. Feeling watched. She believed me, sort of. At least enough to let me crash for a night or two. When I went back to the apartment on March 26th, it was early afternoon. Bright daylight. I told myself I'd grab essentials, check the cameras, maybe try sleeping there again now that it wasn't the middle of the night. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Not strong, faint, like a musty corner of a crawlspace that hadn't been aired out in years. Metallic. A little like rust. Or blood. I checked the windows. Nothing. Paper markers still in place. The door locks were untouched. No signs of a break-in. But I didn't feel alone. I checked the cameras. The one in the kitchen was offline. The app said it lost connection around 3:12 a.m. the night before. The living room one had frozen again, for 20 full minutes this time. When the feed resumed, the curtain was slightly open. Not enough to let in light. Just enough to peek out. And then I saw it, on the coffee table. Another Polaroid. Face down. I already knew what I'd find before I flipped it. This time, the photo was darker, more grainy, but I recognized the angle. My bedroom. Shot from the corner near the closet. The bed was in frame. So was I. I was lying there, face down on the blanket, clearly asleep. The timestamp in the corner read 3:07 a.m. So he had been in the bedroom. Recently. I'd been staying on Danielle's couch the night that was taken. That photo was old. It had been placed there later, after I left. Like a reminder. Like he knew I was coming back. There was no note this time. But I noticed something else. The closet door, the one in the bedroom, was ajar. It's never ajar. I approached slowly. My skin was buzzing, like my nerves were trying to escape my body. I picked up the crowbar with my right hand, the phone in my left, recording just in case. I kicked the door open. Empty. Just clothes. Shoes. A dusty floor. But on the back wall, barely visible, was a square cut into the plaster. Like a crawlspace panel. I hadn't seen it before, it blended in perfectly. No handle. No latch. Just a faint seam, like someone had painted over it decades ago. I didn't open it. Not then. But I knew. He'd been inside. Maybe still was. I didn't sleep again that night. I didn't go back to Danielle's either. I couldn't bring myself to explain what I found, not without sounding insane. A photo taken from inside my bedroom while I slept. A crawlspace panel I'd never noticed before. And the smell. That faint, metallic decay that was strongest near the closet. I sat at the edge of my bed until sunrise, staring at the square cut into the wall. I kept waiting to hear scratching. Breathing. Movement. Something. But the apartment stayed silent. Around 8 a.m., I called off my freelance calls for the day, taped a flashlight to the end of the crowbar, and started inspecting the panel. It was maybe 2 by 2 feet, barely larger than a vent. No hinges, no handle. But when I pressed on one side with enough force, the opposite corner popped outward slightly. It hadn't been sealed. Just wedged shut. I pried it open. Behind it was pitch black, a crawlspace between the interior wall and the old brickwork. The flashlight showed narrow beams, frayed insulation, spider webs. It extended maybe 10 feet across, then turned sharply to the left, out of view. It was too tight for anyone to move freely through. Unless they were small. Or determined. I almost closed it back up right there. But then I noticed the shine. Metal, reflecting from deep inside. I reached in carefully and grabbed it. It was a camera lens. Not a full camera, just the lens casing, cracked and dusty. And tucked in the corner beside it was a crumpled grocery receipt from December 2023. 3 months earlier. I reached in again. My fingers brushed something soft. Fabric. I pulled it out, a hoodie. Dusty. Black. Familiar. I dropped it and scrambled back. My stomach twisted. It was his hoodie. I knew it. The same one from the alley. From that first night. He'd been living in the crawlspace. I called the landlord, half screaming. Demanded to know if anyone had ever accessed that wall. He swore up and down the crawlspaces hadn't been touched in decades, no access from other units, no blueprints indicating cross-structure. I called the police. They came. Searched the apartment. Searched the crawlspace. One officer got in with gloves and a mask and confirmed it was a shallow passage. Someone could have crawled through it and exited into the basement via a long-forgotten vent tunnel. But there was no sign of him. Just that lens, that hoodie, and one more thing. A notebook. Stuffed into the farthest corner. Leather-bound. Water-damaged. On the front, written in ink that had bled over time, were the words. The window boy. I didn't even wait for the cops to finish before I opened the notebook. It was damp, the pages curled at the edges, warped from years of being hidden in some humid, dead place behind my walls. But the ink had mostly held. The first page was a drawing. A sketch in heavy pencil. It was my window. Drawn from the alley, tilted upward. With a shadowy figure visible behind the curtain. Just the outline of a person standing still. Watching. Or being watched. Underneath, scribbled in uneven block letters. You were here before you knew. The entries weren't written like a diary. No dates, no consistent voice. More like fragments, snapshots of thoughts, fixations, repetitions. He doesn't close his eyes when he sleeps. Not all the way. The couch squeaks when he shifts. He doesn't know I can hear it. When the lights are off, I can still see him. He glows. He looks through me sometimes. I think he remembers. I miss his teeth. That line made me slam the book shut. It was insane. Not just obsessed, delusional. This wasn't someone watching me like a crush or a voyeur. This was someone who thought we were connected. Entitled to me. Maybe long before I moved in. I took a breath and flipped further in. The drawings got worse. One showed my bedroom, but messier, older. The wallpaper was different. The bed smaller. There was a figure lying in it, curled in fetal position. Scribbled over and over next to it. Before he was you. Another showed a man inside the crawlspace, eyes white, mouth sewn shut, limbs bent in unnatural angles, smiling. At the back of the notebook was a page that made my blood run cold. It was written in a different hand. Neater. Practiced. As if copied from something else. The boy in the window does not blink. He stands where the light can't reach. He learns your breathing, your pacing, your sleep. The boy in the window does not blink. But he remembers when you did. It was like a nursery rhyme. Or a ritual. I dropped the notebook and backed away like it had bitten me. Later that night, I got a text. From an unknown number. No words. Just a photo. It was a Polaroid. A new one. This time, I wasn't in the frame. But my apartment was. The shot was from the alley, angled up at the window. Curtain open. Lights off. Blackness inside. Except for one thing. A pale face. Watching back. I couldn't stop staring at the photo. My apartment window, taken from the alley. Curtain parted. My lights were off that night. I know they were. And yet in the frame, a pale face stared directly at the camera. Not like a caught voyeur, not surprised. Just calm. Like it was posing. Like it wanted to be seen. I zoomed in, hoping, praying, it was some trick of shadow and glass. But the detail was too sharp. The cheeks sunken. Eyes too large. No eyebrows. And the mouth, slightly parted, like it was mid-whisper. I didn't call the cops this time. I called the previous tenant. I'd found her number scratched into the back of the fuse box weeks ago, barely legible beneath layers of dust and spider webs. I'd never thought to dial it. But now, it felt like the only thing left. Her name was Marta Quinn. She answered on the third ring. When I told her who I was, the new tenant in 3B, she went silent. For a long time. Then she said, "You're seeing him too, aren't you?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Marta told me she moved out 6 months ago after 2 years of night visits. She'd never caught him. Never saw his face directly. But she'd hear tapping on the glass at 2:13 a.m., like a fingernail. She said she left her phone recording once while she slept, and when she played it back, there was breathing right next to her bed, rhythmic, deliberate. One night she found her cat curled up inside the kitchen cabinet. The one with the door that creaks when opened. Except she never heard it open. She broke her lease the day she found a message etched into her bathroom mirror from the inside, behind the glass. It read, "I knew you before the cat." She said it like it made perfect sense. Like there was a pattern. Like he chooses people. But what chilled me most was when I asked her about the crawlspace. She hesitated, then said, "I sealed mine up. I thought it was just rats. Until I started hearing him hum." I asked if she ever found a notebook. She said no. Then she said this, and I'll never forget it. "He's not a man. He looks like one. But he's not. He remembers people that aren't alive anymore." She hung up before I could ask more. That night, I dug deeper into the building's records. Land registry. Obituaries. News clippings. Anything I could find tied to 318 Caraway Lane. I found something in a local archive forum. A missing persons post from 1998. A boy named Nathaniel Ray, age 10, vanished from apartment 3B. The post included a drawing his mother had submitted. Something he'd made 2 days before disappearing. A sketch of the alley. And a figure in the window. Standing behind the glass. With no eyes. I couldn't sleep after I found the missing kid's post. Nathaniel Ray. 10 years old. Vanished from apartment 3B in 1998. No forced entry. No leads. Last seen playing with an imaginary friend he called the quiet boy behind the curtain. They never found a body. The case went cold. The mother moved out 6 days later. I stared at the crayon sketch he'd drawn before disappearing. The same view from my window, the alley, the crooked lamppost, the garbage bins. And in the window, a shape. No eyes. A mouth like an open screen. He'd drawn it watching himself. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to see where the crawlspace led. I bought a headlamp, gloves, and one of those cheap action cameras with night vision. I taped it to my chest and opened the panel again. The air that wafted out was damp and still. No rats. No bugs. Just silence. The insulation scratched my arms as I squeezed through. The corridor was tighter than I remembered. It bent hard left, then right, then narrowed again. I crawled maybe 12 feet before the beam of my headlamp hit something unnatural. A wall, no, a door. Made of wood, rotting, painted the same off-white as the closet interior. There were scratch marks all over it. Deep. Desperate. Something had tried to claw its way out. I almost turned back. But then I saw the handle. It was wrapped in red thread. Tightly, like it had been bound shut by hand. The same kind of thread I'd tied across my doorway weeks ago. A warning. A seal. I reached forward and tugged. The thread snapped. The door creaked open an inch. And from the other side came a smell that turned my stomach, wet copper, mold, and something sour beneath it. Something old. And then I heard it. Breathing. Not mine. It came from just beyond the door, low and steady. Like someone trying not to be heard. But it was wrong. Too deep. Too slow. And every exhale seemed to pulse through the air like a second heartbeat. I raised the flashlight and pushed the door open fully. The beam revealed a room, maybe 6 by 6 feet. Decaying wallpaper. Wooden floor, warped with moisture. A child's mattress on the ground, mildewed. Stacks of drawings covering the walls, all scrawled in different hands. Each one was of a window. Each one had a figure watching from behind the glass. And every one of them had the same thing written at the bottom. I let him in. I turned to leave, to get out now, but the door slammed shut behind me. The light flickered. And then I heard it, not from behind, but right up next to my ear. Now you're mine, too. The door slammed shut behind me. The room went pitch black. My headlamp flickered, then died with a high-pitched whine. For a moment, the silence was total. Not just the absence of sound, the suffocation of it. The kind of silence that feels personal. I pressed myself to the wall, fingers trembling over the doorframe, searching for a latch. A hinge. Anything. Nothing. Behind me, the air shifted. It didn't move like breath. It moved like a presence, the feeling of someone tall and waiting. Right behind your neck. I turned, camera still strapped to my chest, and clicked the red record button with my thumb. The infrared flickered on. The screen filled with grainy black and white shapes. The room wasn't empty anymore. There was a figure standing in the corner. Its body was lanky and twisted like a dried vine. Shoulders sharp. Arms dangling longer than they should. Head cocked at a 45-degree angle, as if it didn't understand the weight of a skull. Its skin was gray, like stretched paper. Its face, God, its face was smooth. No eyes. No nose. Just the faint outline of a mouth. And it was smiling. The camera crackled. It moved. One step. No sound. Then another, fast, like it didn't walk so much as shudder forward. I backed into the wall, crowbar raised, but it didn't attack. It just stopped inches away. And then it spoke. But not out loud. Not exactly. Its voice arrived in my head like a thought I didn't make. You looked at me too long. I didn't blink. I couldn't. Now you're inside. Like all the others. You'll learn to listen. I tried to scream, nothing came out. My throat locked. The figure tilted its head again. Closer. I watched you through every wall. Every crack. And now, you're watching me. Suddenly the walls shifted. Or peeled. The paper with the window sketches pulled back to reveal more rooms, hidden behind false panels. Narrow crawlways like roots, and bodies inside. Some long decayed. Some fresher. All facing outward toward their own walls. Staring at windows that weren't there. They blinked. Once. I didn't. I felt something cold crawl across the base of my spine. Do you know what windows are, really? They're promises. And you opened yours. Then it raised one long, thin hand, not to strike, but to touch my chest. Right over the camera. The screen flared white. And when it dimmed again, I was alone. The room was empty. The walls were bare. The mattress was gone. The door creaked open by itself. And the hallway beyond wasn't my crawlspace anymore. It was something else. Twisting downward. Endlessly. I don't know how long I walked. The crawlspace had transformed. No insulation, no beams. Just winding corridors paneled in decaying wallpaper. The same sickly yellow from my living room. Over and over. Like the walls were copying what I knew. The floor felt soft under my knees. Like carpet soaked in water long ago. Every 20 feet or so, I'd pass a mirror. Not glass, polished metal, cloudy and dented, like someone tried to scrub their reflection away. But I always saw something. Not me. A boy. Same one. Thin. Pale. Black hoodie. Just standing there behind me, even when I turned around and saw nothing. He only lived in reflections. Eventually I found a door. Wood. Painted blue. Slightly open. It led into a perfect replica of my bedroom. Except older. The paint was flaking. My bookshelf was missing half its contents. The bed was too small. Everything slightly wrong. Like someone had recreated it from memory and forgotten the details. On the desk sat a stack of drawings. Each one showed me. Sitting. Sleeping. Eating. Blinking. Each time, the figure in the window came closer. Until the last sketch showed it inside the room. And in the final one, I wasn't in the bed anymore. Just the thing. Lying where I should be. Its face pressed against the pillow, smiling. I turned to run, but the door was gone. The walls pulsed. They breathed. A voice echoed down the corridor, not in my head this time, but all around me. Wet and warped, like a cassette left in the rain. Finish the drawing. I looked back at the desk. A blank sheet now sat at the top of the pile. A pencil next to it. Still warm. Finish it and I'll let you leave. I don't know how long I sat there. I stared at that blank page until my hands shook. And then I began to draw. The window. The alley. Myself, looking out, afraid. And behind me. Him. The window boy. I finished it. The moment the pencil touched the page's edge, the walls began to collapse inward, not crashing, but folding. Like paper. I was back in my bedroom. Same dusty air. Same rumbling radiator. Same taped up crawlspace. The only proof I'd been anywhere was the drawing still in my lap. Same as the others. But now, I'd made it. I stood and walked to the window. Looked down. The alley was empty. But across, in the abandoned unit, a figure stood. He wore my face. And he was holding a drawing. He wore my face. Across the alley, in the window of the abandoned apartment, he stood perfectly still, holding the same drawing I'd just finished. I blinked. He didn't. I turned away. Paced the room. Told myself I was hallucinating, sleep-deprived, traumatized. I'd crawled too deep into a wall, breathed mold, cracked under pressure. But when I looked back, he was still there. Still holding the drawing. Still smiling. I pulled my phone to take a picture, proof, anything, but the screen stayed black. Every time I tried to snap a photo, the app crashed. Every time I aimed the lens, it only captured my empty window. He wouldn't let me show him. He wanted me to see him, and no one else. That night, I boarded up the window. Hammered thick plywood across it. No cracks. No gaps. But it didn't help. Because then he started knocking. Not on the window. On the inside of the boards. I'd wake up to 3 sharp raps, in the center of the plywood. From my side. Like he was already in the walls again. Or maybe he never left. I tried staying with friends. Hotels. But he always found me. Not in person, in mirrors. In TVs turned off. In puddles. My reflection would twitch when I didn't. Or stand still when I moved. And always, it smiled. Eventually, I stopped seeing my own face. Only his. The worst part wasn't the watching. It was the knowing. Knowing that at some point, I had become him. I went back to the apartment once. Just once. The boards on the window were gone. And nailed to the wall above the radiator was a new drawing. Not in pencil this time, charcoal, harsh and angry. It was me, staring out the window. And the figure in the alley? There was none. Because I was the one in the window now. I never left after that. You ever walk past 318, Caraway Lane, look up and think you see movement behind the curtain? You probably did. You probably saw me. Watching. Waiting. Drawing. Because I finally understand the window boy now. He doesn't choose you. He replaces you. And when you're gone, he uses your face to find the next one. So if you see someone in your window at night, just standing there, smiling, still, don't blink. Don't draw. And for the love of God, don't look back. I found Polaroids taped inside my smoke detector. I live alone in a 450 square foot studio apartment. Just me, a futon, and too many dead plants. Rent's cheap. That should have been a red flag. It's one of those old buildings with warped floors and ceiling fans that shake when you turn them on. The smoke detector is right above my bed, a little yellowed, like everything else in the place. Last Tuesday, it started clicking at night. Not beeping. Clicking. Like someone flicking their fingernail against plastic. I assumed it was a battery thing. I stood on a chair, popped off the cover, and the battery was fine. But something else caught my eye. A tiny piece of black tape wedged inside. Behind it, a folded piece of glossy paper. I pulled it out. It was a Polaroid. Grainy. Off color. Clearly old. It showed my bed. Me, sleeping. I dropped it. Checked the ceiling again. No camera. Nothing else I could see. Just that one photo. The back of the Polaroid had a date written in red pen. May 4th. Which was last week. I haven't told anyone this part yet, because it sounds insane. But I sleep with my door locked, deadbolt and chain. The windows are sealed shut, painted that way when I moved in. There's no way anyone could have gotten in and taken that photo. At least, not without waking me up. I left the apartment that night and crashed at my friend Theo's place. Didn't tell him the details, just that I had a leak and my landlord sucked. 2 days passed. I finally came home to grab some clothes. And there was another Polaroid waiting. Sitting neatly on the kitchen counter. This one was taken from the hallway. Through the peephole. Of me, standing in my kitchen. The exact moment I was looking at the first photo. That means whoever's doing this. They're still coming in. Watching me react. Following my movements. I replaced the lock. Bought a Ring camera. Bolted a second bar across the door. Didn't sleep. Last night, the Ring app pinged me. Motion detected, front door, 2:41 a.m. I opened the video. The footage was 3 seconds long. It was completely black. Until, for one single frame, something passed across the camera. I screen capped it. It was a face. Right up close. Half lit. Mouth open. No eyebrows. And the eyes were pitch black, like holes burned through the image. I swear to God I've seen it before. Then I remembered the first Polaroid. The one of me sleeping. Zoom in enough, past the noise, and you can just barely make it out. That same face. Reflected in the mirror on my closet door. Smiling. I don't think this is just a stalker. There's no evidence of forced entry. No fingerprints. No one ever sees anyone on the hallway cam. But every few nights, more Polaroids appear. The latest one. It's not a photo of me. It's a Polaroid of my funeral. And I'm in the casket. But the back has a date. June 14th. Which means I'm not dead yet. So, June 14th. That's next Friday. I haven't slept since the funeral photo appeared. Not really. I burned it. The Polaroid. Took a lighter to the edge until the thing curled and cracked like a spider in heat. But it didn't melt like normal plastic. It gave off this weird chemical smell, like burned hair and vinegar. After that, they came faster. 3 in one night. Slipped under the door like letters from a prison pen pal. Each one clearer than the last. Me in the shower, from above. Me brushing my teeth, the face in the mirror behind mine. Me asleep again, but this time, the angle was inside the bed frame, like the photo was taken through the mattress springs. I tore my apartment apart. No cameras. No wires. I even found the building blueprints online, thank you, Reddit sleuths, and discovered a disused maintenance shaft behind the bathroom wall. Used in the 70s. Never sealed right. Guess where it leads? Every apartment in the building. Including mine. I called the cops again. They said it was, probably a prank, told me not to engage. I asked if they wanted the photos. They said unless there's proof of a crime or break-in, it's not evidence, and they're not photograph analysts. Useless. So I set up my own traps. Flower under the windows. Thread taped across the doorframe. Phone recording audio all night. And last night, I caught something. Not on camera, but on audio. At 3:11 a.m., I heard it. Footsteps. Right next to the bed. Then breathing. Slow. Raspy. Wrong. And then. Smile. That voice wasn't human. It was like a broken speak and spell shoved underwater. I shot up, slammed on the lights, nothing. No one. But there was a new Polaroid on my pillow. It showed me. Mouth open. Eyes wide. From the exact moment the voice spoke. I don't think this thing is stalking me anymore. I think it's setting up a scene. Like a photo shoot. Each picture gets clearer, more detailed. Like it's rehearsing for the final image. The funeral one. Here's the worst part. When I flipped that photo over again, yes, I had a second copy tucked away, the date wasn't the only thing written on the back anymore. Now, under June 14th, there's a message. Polaroids don't predict. They remember. Which means, it's not a prophecy. It's a memory. Something's already seen me die. And it's making sure the scene matches. I left the city 2 days ago. I didn't tell anyone. No social posts. No tickets booked online. Just threw some clothes in a bag, wiped my phone, and drove. North. Somewhere cold. Far. Ended up in a short-term rental in Vermont. Little A-frame cabin with no Wi-Fi and no working smoke detectors. Not that I asked for that last part, but I won't pretend I wasn't relieved. First night, I slept like the dead. No Polaroids. No voice. No feeling of being watched. I thought maybe I'd done it. Escaped whatever this was. Until last night. I was sitting by the fireplace, drinking tea, reading. Around 1 a.m., there was a soft scratch at the front door. Not a knock. Just a dry scritch. Like fingernails on wood. I froze. Didn't move. It didn't repeat. But when I finally worked up the nerve to check, heart in my throat, I found a single Polaroid, tucked into the doorframe. It wasn't of me. It was of the cabin. The same view I had standing in the entryway, same angle, same flickering fireplace, but no one inside. Except. In the photo, there was a black shadow in the loft window. Bent. Wrong. As if someone stood too long in the cold and began to crack. That window was directly above my bed. I packed up. Again. Hit the road before sunrise. In a highway gas station somewhere in Massachusetts, I went into the bathroom to splash water on my face. And taped to the mirror. Another photo. This time it was just text. Still a Polaroid, but with handwriting across it in red ink. Every picture is a place we've already been. Every picture is a door. I stared at it for a full minute before peeling it off the mirror. Underneath, scrawled into the glass beneath the tape line, were scratches. Not random. Not vandalism. A date. June 14th. And underneath that. We're almost there. I don't think I'm being followed. I think I'm being remembered. Like a page already written, just waiting to be turned. But that would mean my death, my funeral, already happened. That this thing isn't leading me there. It's trying to make sure everything happens exactly as it did before. Every place I go. It's already seen me there. Every picture. A scene it's setting up again. Because for it, time doesn't move forward. It folds. And the final picture is the crease. I went back. I know how that sounds. But the further I ran, the more the photos felt like breadcrumbs, not warnings. I needed to see where they started. The apartment at 318 Caraway Lane hadn't changed. Same peeling paint. Same hallway light that flickers like a dying insect. The landlord didn't even ask why I was back. He just handed over the key like he knew I'd return. I didn't bring bags. Just a flashlight, gloves, and a claw hammer. And I knew exactly where I was going. The maintenance shaft behind the bathroom. It's barely 2 feet wide. I found the panel behind the towel bar, thin plywood covering old bricks. Someone had sawed out a rough square decades ago, then sealed it with 4 rusted screws and a strip of molding. Behind it, blackness. Dust. And a smell like wet fur and hot film. I crawled inside. It's a vertical crawl space. Every 6 feet or so there's a rusted ladder rung drilled into the brick, leading upward and down. I went down first. The flashlight flickered. Dust thick enough to taste. But about 20 feet below, the shaft opened. Into a room. No door. No records. Just a room inside the wall. Maybe 8 by 8 feet. Covered in foam padding, like an old recording booth. And in the center, sitting on a dented metal tripod. A camera. An old Polaroid 600. Black body. Custom housing. Wires fed into the wall behind it, hooked to a battery pack and a timer rig built from analog clock parts. And around the room. Polaroids. Hundreds. Taped and stapled and nailed. Some curled from age. Some still wet. A timeline of people in this apartment. All sleeping. All unaware. I found one that chilled me. It was a boy, maybe 10 years old, lying in a bunk bed. Beside him, barely visible, a shadow crawling down the ceiling above him, shaped like a man on all fours with no face. On the back. He woke up too early. I took the camera. Ripped it off the tripod. The wall behind it crumbled, it was hollow. Inside that cavity, I found a box. Shoebox sized. Red. Lined in blue velvet. Inside. Ash. And teeth. And one last Polaroid. It was me. Standing in the crawlspace. Holding the Polaroid I was currently looking at. And behind me. A figure in the dark. Not fully visible. Just a hand, reaching out of the wall. I spun, slammed my flashlight beam into the corner, nothing. But I heard something then. A sound I'll never unhear. A click. Like a shutter closing. Then a soft exhale. Inches from my neck. I left the camera. Left the ash. Crawled out and sealed the panel behind me with 3 nails and a prayer. That was 2 days ago. But tonight, I got a new photo. Sitting in the middle of my bed. It's me again. Sleeping. Only this time, the photo isn't grainy. It isn't tilted or rushed. It's perfect. Centered. Framed. Crisp. Like the photographer finally got the shot it wanted. And the back doesn't say a date anymore. It just says. Ready to develop. It's June 14th. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I didn't leave my apartment. I just waited. The air feels heavy, like it's thick with static. Every time I close my eyes, I see flashes, the white bloom of a camera flash behind my eyelids. A click in the dark. And the image, developing slowly in the darkroom of my mind. I've gotten 5 new Polaroids since midnight. Each one is closer than the last. Each one of me, asleep, sitting, walking. All from the exact same angle. As if the camera is inside my eyes. At 3:33 a.m., my hallway light went out. Then the floor creaked. Once. Twice. Then silence. When I turned to look, there was nothing in the hall. But on the floor was a new photo. It showed me standing in the hallway, holding the last photo. In the background, the mirror by my front door. And in the reflection, a face. But not the black-eyed, grinning mask from before. This face looked like me. But off. Smudged. Like someone drew me from memory and got the eyes wrong. I don't remember falling asleep, but I woke up on the floor with blood on my nose and a ringing in my ears. The entire apartment was covered in photographs. They were taped to the walls, fanned out across the floor, hanging from the ceiling by thread like someone was decorating for a birthday party in hell. All of them, me. Every moment of the last few weeks. Eating. Sleeping. Running. Crying. Breaking. But here's the part that made me finally start typing this post, and probably the last thing I'll ever write. I flipped one of the photos over. The back said, "You were the only one we couldn't remember. So we took your picture. Now you're part of it again." Then I heard the whir of a Polaroid ejecting behind me. And I felt something slide down over my head. A plastic lens. Click. Flash. Everything went white. I can still think. Still feel. But I don't think I'm here anymore. I'm inside something. Not like a room, like a moment. Frozen. Held. Like a picture stuck in amber. And every so often, I hear them. Voices outside. Whispers like, "Who's this one? It wasn't in the album before. Must have just developed. I think I'm in the photo now." And if you're reading this, check your walls. Check your smoke detectors. Check your mirrors. Because when you see me next, I'll be looking at you. And the camera's already focused. My smart home started answering to someone else. I used to love my smart home setup. Lights, locks, thermostat, cameras, all controlled by one app. I could tell Alexa to dim the lights or unlock the front door from bed. It made me feel secure. Like I had eyes everywhere. Now I keep everything unplugged. And I sleep with a hammer next to my bed. Because last month, my smart home stopped answering to me. And started answering to someone else. It began small. Lights flickering when I hadn't touched the app. Music turning on at 3 a.m., same song every time, Goodbye Horses, by Q Lazarus. Creepy, but probably a bug, I thought. I changed my password. Enabled 2FA. Rebooted the system. Things got worse. I'd come home from work and find the front door unlocked. Thermostat set to 90. Bathroom mirror fogged, like someone had just showered. But I live alone. Still, no signs of break-in. Nothing stolen. My security cameras didn't show anything. They'd just go black for a few hours, then come back online. I asked my friend Matt, who works in cybersecurity, to check my system. He couldn't get in. He said my logs were wiped. Not corrupted, intentionally erased. Whoever did it knew what they were doing. Change everything, he said. Or better yet, ditch it all. I started sleeping with my bedroom door locked. I nailed the window shut. Kept the cameras on a closed loop, no Wi-Fi. But then I started getting notifications. From my own system. Motion detected, bedroom, 2:41 a.m. Motion detected, kitchen, 2:42 a.m. Audio detected, whistling, 2:43 a.m. Audio detected, whispering, 2:44 a.m. Every night. Same time window. And always ending with front door locked by other user. I never added an other user. 2 weeks ago, I woke up to a ding. A push notification. New device connected, Shadow Room 3. I didn't own anything called that. I rushed to the living room. On the wall-mounted screen that controlled everything, the UI had changed. New background, static. New icon, a blinking red eye. Underneath, one word. Observe. I tried unplugging the hub. The lights went out, then came back on by themselves. Brighter than before. Blinding. The speakers turned on. He sees you. Now he needs you. I ran. Stayed in a hotel. Disconnected everything. Reported it to the cops. They shrugged. Could be a hacker, they said. But there's no law against someone logging into your lights. Useless. Matt told me to burn the whole setup. But then I got one final message, this time in an email. No sender. No subject. Just an image attachment. It was a still frame from my bedroom camera. From last night. I was asleep. And behind me, curled at the foot of the bed, was a man. Naked. Smiling. His eyes were pitch black, and his body was too long. Like he'd been stretched. The file name? Shadowroom 3_USIRAccepted.jpg. Now I hear him in the walls. Sometimes the thermostat clicks in rhythm. Like a heartbeat. Sometimes the door unlocks and doesn't relock until I acknowledge him. And every night at 2:44 a.m., the lights flicker. And a voice, not the Alexa voice, says, "Thank you for letting me in. I don't know what I allowed. But I don't think I own my house anymore. It owns me. And he's not watching through the camera anymore. He's watching through my eyes. Someone keeps pretending to be me, and they're getting better at it. I first found out someone was impersonating me when my coworker asked why I hadn't said hello at the store. I told him I wasn't at the store. He looked at me like I was joking. You were in line at the checkout. Hoodie, headphones, same backpack you always wear. I said your name. You looked me right in the eyes and walked out. That was weird enough. But the next week, my mom called to ask if everything was okay. Apparently I'd stopped by her house, knocked, looked through the window, and left without a word. I didn't recognize your face at first, she said. But it was definitely you. I wasn't there. I live 2 hours away. And I haven't visited her in months. That's when I checked my Ring camera. 3 days earlier, around 3:23 a.m., there was a motion alert. I opened the video. And I nearly threw up. It was someone standing at my door. Still. Too still. Wearing my clothes. My shoes. But the face. It was like mine, but wrong. Off by inches. Like a deepfake run through a garbage disposal. The eyes were vacant. Staring straight into the camera. And when the motion light came on, the figure smiled. But I don't smile like that. I saved the footage. Called the cops. They filed a report but said unless the person entered the home, there was nothing they could do. Probably just a prank. Someone messing with facial software. I thought maybe they were right. Until they got inside. 3 nights ago, I came home and found a Polaroid on my bed. No break-in signs. No camera in the house. The photo was of me. Lying in bed. Mouth slightly open. One hand tucked under the pillow, just like how I actually sleep. But the photo wasn't taken from the bed. It was taken from above. As if someone was standing on the ceiling. On the back, written in pen. You looked so peaceful. I had to try it on. Now people swear they've seen me in places I've never been. My boss says I came into work Sunday, even though I had the day off. A girl from high school DM'd me, asking why I walked past her downtown without saying anything. I haven't seen her in 10 years. And today, I got an email from my address. Subject line, thanks for letting me in. Body. Your face fits so well. But the inside's a little tight. Mind if I stretch it? There was a photo attachment. Another Polaroid. This one wasn't of me. It was a photo of my apartment. Only everything was flipped. Mirror reversed. Like someone had rebuilt my entire home, backwards. Like they were practicing. I think whatever, this isn't stalking me in the traditional sense. They're replacing me. And everyone is starting to believe it. So if you meet someone who says they're me, ask them to smile. If the teeth don't match the eyes, run. Because they're not trying to look like me anymore. They're waiting for me to forget who I am. So they can finally become it. This morning, I tried to unlock my email. Password. Wrong. Security question, doesn't match. Backup email, not mine. Then I checked my bank account. Drained. But not stolen. The activity log showed me moving the money, transfers, logins, even in-person withdrawals. One was made from a branch in my city. I was in bed at the time. I went there in person, showed them my ID. The teller smiled nervously. You were just here yesterday. I asked to see the security footage. They refused. For privacy. I left before I did something stupid. Back home, the lights were on. I always turn them off. I'm obsessive about that. The couch had an imprint, someone had been sitting there. Not just casually. 4 hours. The cushions were warm. I checked my bedroom. Polaroid on the pillow again. This time it wasn't of me. It was of two versions of me. Sitting across from each other at the kitchen table. Matching outfits. Identical posture. One of them smiling. The other crying. Written on the back, in blocky handwriting. Which one's the echo? That night I couldn't sleep. I put my phone in the freezer, no chance of tracking. I took a knife to every smart device. I unplugged the router, the TV, the lights. Still, at 3:33 a.m. exactly, I heard it. Click. Camera shutter. No electronics. No visible lens. Just that sound. Followed by a voice, my voice, whispering. Don't worry. I'll blink less than you did. I checked the mirror. Same face. Same eyes. But something felt off. I did a test. I moved my hand in front of my face slowly, mirror followed perfectly. Then I stopped moving. But the reflection kept going. Just for a second. Just a twitch. It tilted its head, like it was checking if I noticed. Then smiled. I think this thing is synchronizing with me. I think when it finishes, when it gets my patterns right, my thoughts, my rhythms, it'll step out. And I'll be the copy. I don't know if this is something supernatural, technological, or something worse, but I know this. Yesterday, I called my mom. She answered, sounded surprised. I just talked to you, she said. You said you'd call me back later. I hadn't spoken to her in days. And she ended the call with, love you, honey. Take care of your cough. I don't have a cough. But he does. I heard it behind me. Last night, I decided to end it. I don't mean my life, I mean the thing pretending to live it. There's a threshold, right? A line between weird glitch and reality fracture. I've been past that line for weeks. The only question left is, if he takes over, where do I go? Because I don't think this is just identity theft anymore. I think it's replacement. I caught him. That's the good news. I set a trap using an old phone, not connected to Wi-Fi, no cloud, just a battery, a camera app, and a lot of waiting. I left the apartment unlocked and hid in the closet with a crowbar. 3:33 a.m., like always, he came in. Quiet. Confident. No flashlight. He moved like someone who'd lived here his whole life. He went to the fridge. Took out my last energy drink. Sat on the couch. Turned on the TV. But the TV isn't plugged in. It turned on anyway. Static. Hissing. Then, a voice from the TV. You are no longer the original. That's when I saw his face. Mine, but loose. Like a Halloween mask made too thin. Underneath, I saw movement. Worm-like things. Twitching. And when he smiled, his teeth didn't match mine anymore. Too many. Too sharp. Too eager. I charged. Hit him in the side of the head. He didn't fall. Just turned slowly, like he already knew it was coming. He said, "Pain is how you'll remember being human." I screamed and hit him again. This time, his face cracked. Not bleeding, not bone. Like broken ceramic. Underneath, another face. Smaller. Still becoming. He ran. Fast. But not to escape. To the mirror. He climbed inside. Like the surface turned to water. Now the reflection lags behind me. Not always, just when I'm not thinking about it. And sometimes it does things I'm not doing. Scratches its neck. Smiles wide. Blinks out of rhythm. And I'm starting to forget things. Where I work. My middle name. What my dad looked like. But the reflection remembers. He says my name first now when I open my mouth. It comes out wrong. Like a whisper from two throats. I wrote this on a burner laptop. No internet. No cloud. When I'm done, I'm smashing it. Because he's in the system now. He knows who I've told. He knows who you are, now that you've read this. If your reflection ever smiles first. If you ever hear a shutter click with no phone nearby. If someone says they saw you somewhere you've never been. It means he's close. And you're next. And whatever he is. He's getting better at being you than you are. I don't know if I'm the one writing this. Not anymore. I woke up today in a bed I didn't recognize. But everything in it was mine. Photos of my family. My old books. That painting I lost in a move 5 years ago. Everything felt right. Too right. Like a replica rebuilt from memory. But not my memory. I went to the bathroom mirror. Took a deep breath. Said my name. Out loud. And the mirror didn't say it back. It just watched me. I watched me. But it wasn't me. It was him. And when I blinked, he didn't. And when I smiled, he smiled wider. He whispered. It's easier if you let go. I ran to my laptop. The one I swore I destroyed. It was sitting on the desk. Plugged in. Logged in. It opened to a Reddit post. This one. My post. And it was being edited. Line by line. Not by me. But by someone else typing in perfect rhythm, just a second ahead of me, like they knew what I'd write before I did. I tried deleting it. But the words came back. Only one sentence left. I'm you now. Go rest. I don't remember what happened next. But I woke up again. Same bed. Same apartment. But something's different. The light switches are on the wrong side. My closet opens the other way. There's a scar on my hand I never had. And my neighbors call me by a name I don't recognize. But I answer to it. Naturally. Like it's always been mine. Every now and then, I see him in reflections. Not often. Just enough. He doesn't need to hide anymore. Because I think I lost. Or maybe I just gave in. Because I'm tired. Because sometimes, when you look at your own face long enough, you forget who you were trying to be. And whatever is wearing me now, it's doing a better job. My upstairs neighbor walks exactly like me. That's not the scary part. I live alone in a small apartment in an old building. Thin walls, creaky floors, those weird radiators that knock like someone's inside the pipes. You get used to it. But a few months ago, someone moved into the unit above me. I never saw them. Not once. No hellos in the hall. No moving trucks. Just footsteps. The thing is, they walk exactly like me. At first, I thought it was just building acoustics. You know, the way your own footsteps echo oddly sometimes. But it became more specific. I'd go to the fridge, and hear them do the same. I'd sit on the couch, and hear their couch squeak at the same time. I'd pace when I was anxious, and hear two sets of pacing, perfectly synced. It was like someone had memorized my every movement. Last week, it got worse. I woke up in the middle of the night, had that heavy, stomach-sinking feeling that someone was in the room. But when I turned on the light, everything was normal. Until I noticed the ceiling. Faint creaking, slow shifting, like someone was standing directly above me. I lifted my hand, and above me, I heard a soft thud. Like they had lifted theirs, too. I moved my fingers. One by one. Creak. 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 In perfect rhythm. 2 days ago, I left the apartment for work and noticed something taped to my door. A note. Folded. No name on it. Inside was a single sentence, handwritten in cramped pencil. Stop moving so much. I'm trying to get it right. I asked the landlord about the unit above mine. He frowned and said, nobody's lived there since March. We had to seal it off. Burst pipe and mold. I moved in April 1st. The day the upstairs unit should have been empty. He offered to show me the space. We climbed up, and he unlocked it. The apartment was dark. Cold. Floorboards stained, walls yellow with water damage. I held my breath as I stepped inside. The place was completely empty. Except for one thing. A mirror. Leaning against the ceiling directly above where my bed would be below. The glass was cracked. And written across it, in what looked like ash or charcoal. Almost there. I'm not sleeping tonight. Because a few hours ago, I walked to the bathroom. And when I passed the hallway mirror, I saw my reflection pause, just half a second longer than me. And then it smiled. I didn't. After I posted the first part, I tried not to check the comments too much. I didn't want to feed the paranoia. But some of you asked the same thing. Have you checked your cameras? I only had one. A cheap motion sensor cam pointed at my front door. Last night, I pulled the footage. What I saw still doesn't make sense. 1:07 a.m., my door opens. No alarm. No knock. No footsteps. Just, swings open. No one comes in. But the camera glitches, you know that VHS-style wobble when a signal scrambles. Then, for a split second, a shape. Standing in the hallway. It looked like me, same hoodie, same posture. But the face was blurred. Like it didn't have one yet. I've blocked the vents. Stuffed towels under the door. Closed the blinds. Covered the hallway mirror with a blanket. I thought it would stop whatever was happening. But tonight, it started mimicking things I wasn't doing. At 3:13 a.m., I heard pacing above me, but I was lying still. It paced exactly 13 steps, then stopped. 13 more. Then stopped again. Then I heard my own voice. Muffled. From the ceiling. I couldn't make out the words, just tone. Calm. Conversational. Like someone was practicing. Saying my lines. I caved and called the landlord again. I told him I heard someone upstairs, begged him to check. He got real quiet. Said he hadn't been back to that unit since he showed me. Said the mirror was never there. He asked me if I was okay. I said no. I went upstairs myself. This time, the door wasn't locked. The apartment looked the same, water stains, moldy smell. But the mirror was gone. In its place, on the floor, was a pile of photos. Polaroids. At least 50. All of me. Sleeping. Eating. Typing. Looking at my phone. But the angles were wrong, like they were taken from behind the mirror. The last one. Me standing in this exact apartment. Holding a Polaroid. Looking terrified. On the back, written in pencil. You're doing great. Just a few more nights. If I disappear from this account, if I stop posting, please remember something for me. I never lived upstairs. No one did. But something has been watching from above. And now it walks a little too confidently. A little too comfortably. In my body. I haven't slept in 2 days. Not since I found those Polaroids. But that's not the worst part. Last night, someone buzzed my apartment from the front door. I didn't answer. So they buzzed again. And again. Until I finally checked the intercom screen. It was me. Same hoodie. Same tired face. Same little scar on the jawline from when I slipped shaving. But he was smiling too wide. Like he'd been practicing it in a mirror that didn't belong to him. I didn't let him in. But I heard the front door open anyway. I ran. I grabbed my phone and keys and left my apartment. I didn't lock it. I didn't care. I went straight to the super's office, banging on the door like a maniac. He opened it groggy and irritated, until he saw my face. Then he blinked. Swallowed. Said. You were just here 5 minutes ago. I asked him what I said. He looked confused, like he was trying to recall a dream that didn't belong to him. Then he muttered. You said, it's time to finish what he started. I couldn't go back to my apartment. So I slept in my car. Or tried to. Sometime around 4 a.m., I looked at my phone screen. And my lock screen photo was different. Still me. But not from any photo I took. It was me, asleep in the front seat. Right then. Wearing the same shirt. Same everything. Photo taken from just outside the car. And in the bottom left corner of the image, reflected in the window, was another me. Smiling. Holding the phone. I drove until sunrise. When I finally came back to the apartment, the door was wide open. Inside. The mirror. Back on the ceiling. Perfectly clean. No cracks. No writing. Just me, staring back. Except. When I tilted my head, he didn't. When I blinked, he stared. When I whispered, please stop. He mouthed. You first. I don't know what happens next. I think he's almost finished becoming me. Sometimes, I forget what my own voice sounds like. Sometimes, I hear him talking to people on the phone. Friends. My mom. They don't even notice. They think it's me. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm the reflection now. Maybe I lost the moment I looked too long. So if you're reading this, and your ceiling creaks when you move. If your footsteps echo wrong. If you ever smile and feel your reflection smile first. Do what I didn't. Don't look up. And whatever you do, don't answer the door. My apartment faces the alley, and so did he. This happened 2 months ago. I haven't posted until now because I've been trying to convince myself it was just a string of coincidences. That I imagined some of it. But I know what I saw. I live on the second floor of a small apartment complex in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy, just a rectangle building with a few units on each side and an alley that runs between 2 walls of windows. My bedroom window looks directly across into another unit. I never kept the blinds shut. It felt like overkill, the building's mostly older folks, college kids, and shut-ins. No one creepy. No one weird. Until the lights came on in the unit across from mine. It had been empty for months. I know because I asked the landlord when I first moved in. I liked knowing no one could see into my place. I got used to the freedom. Then one night, around 11 p.m., I saw a light flick on in the opposite unit. I figured someone had moved in. No big deal. But something felt off. The window was open, and someone was standing in the dark. Not moving. Not unpacking. Just staring out. Right at my window. I turned off my lamp and stepped to the side. Still, he didn't move. Just stood there. I couldn't make out any details, just a tall silhouette. Pale skin. Maybe glasses. The kind of vague outline your brain fills in with nightmares. Then, after at least 10 minutes, he raised his hand. Slowly. Deliberately. And waved. Not a high wave. Not friendly. It was slow. Robotic. Like he'd seen people do it in movies and was mimicking the motion. I shut my blinds. Slept in the living room. The next morning, I called the landlord to ask who moved in across the way. He said no one had. Still vacant. Still waiting on repairs. He even offered to check it out with me. When we went over, the unit was completely empty. No furniture. No lights. No sign of anyone having been inside. But I saw something under the window. A small notebook. I picked it up. Inside were pages and pages of scribbles, black ink, manic loops, stick figures. And in the middle of one page, in shaky block letters. Don't let him see you sleep. I should have thrown that notebook away. But I didn't. I kept it in a drawer next to my bed, like part of me was scared I'd dream it all. Like it might vanish if I didn't have proof. But the proof didn't stop there. 2 nights later, I woke up suddenly. No sound. No nightmares. Just a hard snap into consciousness, like someone yanked me out of sleep. My room was dark. But I saw light across the alley again. The window across from mine was glowing dim yellow. And this time, the figure wasn't standing. He was sitting on the floor. Facing the window. Facing me. And this time, he had something in his hands. I squinted. It was small. Black. My notebook. I jumped up and ran to the window. When I did, the lights in the other unit snapped off instantly. Gone. Like someone had been waiting for me to look. I called the landlord again in the morning. Told him what I saw. Told him the lights were on and someone was in the unit. He was annoyed, but agreed to let me check the place out again. He unlocked the door, and we went inside. Still empty. No lights plugged in. No furniture. No person. But this time, The notebook was gone. I didn't say anything. That night, I made a mistake. I left my blinds open again. I wanted to prove I wasn't afraid. I wanted to sleep without feeding the paranoia. I took melatonin. Knocked out hard. When I woke up the next morning, the blinds were closed. Not all the way. Just barely shut, like someone had done it carefully, quietly, while I slept. And on the inside of the glass, written in black ink. You looked at me. I bought blackout curtains that day. I stopped sleeping in the bedroom entirely. But every night since, I hear tapping on the glass. 3 slow taps. Then nothing. And sometimes, when I walk past mirrors too fast, I think I see his apartment reflected behind me. Even though I'm nowhere near the window. Even though the reflection is moving. When I'm not. I don't live in my apartment anymore. I moved out 2 weeks ago. Not because I wanted to. Because I had to. After I found the writing on the glass, I tried to ignore everything. Shut the curtains. Played loud music. Left lights on all night. Anything to pretend life was normal. Then things started happening inside my apartment. Little changes. A mug in the wrong spot. My keys moved from the counter to the floor. Clothes I don't remember wearing left in the hamper. The worst was the voice. I started hearing it just before falling asleep. Not loud. Barely a whisper. Let me see you. Always from the window. I bought a small motion-activated camera and pointed it at the glass. I didn't watch the footage for days. When I finally did, I almost threw up. At 3:11 a.m., the camera detected movement. The curtains pulled back from the inside. And someone stood in front of the window. Me. Same pajamas. Same posture. Same blank stare. But I was asleep in the living room. I know I was. I'd filmed myself there too. There were 2 of me. I ran. I drove for hours. Slept in my car. Didn't go home. I called the landlord again. Begged him to check the other unit. He swore on his life it was still vacant. Still locked up tight. That's when I asked something I hadn't before. Has anyone lived there before? Like a long time ago. He hesitated. Said he wasn't supposed to talk about it. But finally admitted. There was a guy, years ago. Lived there alone. Paranoid. Would copy the tenants in the building. Thought he could become someone by watching them long enough. He used to sit by the window all day. People said he started mirroring everything his neighbors did. Movements. Routines. Even how they talked. One night, he just disappeared. I went back to my apartment the next day with a friend. Everything was normal at first. Until we went into my bedroom. The curtains were wide open. And on the inside of the glass, written in breath-fogged condensation. You're almost ready. I haven't been back since. But I heard from a neighbor last night. She said someone new moved into my unit. Tall guy. Pale. Wears glasses. Keeps to himself. She said he stares out the window all day. Kinda looks like you, she laughed. I told her not to talk to him. I told her not to wave back if he waves. And above all, don't look into the window after dark. Because once he sees you sleep, he starts learning how to wake up as you. I keep finding my old phone, and it shouldn't exist anymore. This started 2 weeks ago. I dropped my phone in a lake while hiking. Total accident. It slipped out of my hoodie pocket and vanished into the black water. I watched it sink. I couldn't even see the screen flash off. Gone. Just like that. No big deal, it was old. I reported it as lost, got a new one the next day. Changed passwords. Updated logins. Moved on. That should have been the end of it. But 3 nights later, I came home to find it sitting on my kitchen counter. My old phone. Same scratches. Same chipped corner. Dry. Clean. I didn't tell anyone where I lost it. No one else was with me on that hike. The screen was cracked, but the battery was on. 87%. Like it had been charged. But here's the part that really messed me up. It was unlocked. And the camera app was open. With dozens of new photos. All of me. Sleeping. Brushing my teeth. Cooking dinner. From weird angles. Behind doors. Through windows. There was even one of me from that morning, leaving my building with my trash bag. I deleted them. Threw the phone in a drawer and didn't touch it again. The next night, it was in my bed. Face down on the pillow next to mine. I took it to the police. They asked if I had any enemies, exes, crazy friends. I said no. I showed them the phone. They ran it through records. Said it was listed as deactivated and unrecoverable by my provider. But they kept it overnight just in case. When I got home that evening, there was a small box waiting at my door. No return label. No tape. Inside was the same phone. Screen cracked. Battery at 87%. Camera open. One new photo. Me at the police station. Talking to the officer. After the box, I didn't go home for a few days. I stayed with my brother across town. Didn't tell him why, just said I needed a break. But even there, I couldn't sleep. Because the phone followed me. I found it in my duffel bag on the second night. Buried between clothes I hadn't touched. Same crack on the screen. Same battery percentage. Camera open again. This time, it was recording. And when I played it back, I saw myself sleeping on my brother's couch. Behind me, through the window. A figure. Tall. Wearing a hood. Hand pressed to the glass. The video ended just as I rolled over. I tried to smash the phone. I threw it into traffic. I watched it explode under the wheels of a city bus. But when I got back inside, it was sitting on the counter. No crack. Just gently vibrating with a new notification. A message. Sent from my own number. It said, "Don't do that again. I'm almost finished learning." I took it to a tech shop the next day. Showed the guy behind the counter everything. He opened the settings, looked confused. Then said something I'll never forget. "This phone doesn't have a model number. Or a serial. It's like it wasn't manufactured." He paused. Looked pale. "Also, it's running a live app I've never seen. There's no name for it. Just a symbol." He showed me. It was the camera icon. But the lens was an eye. Blinking. I left it with him. That night, I got a call from an unknown number. It was him. The tech guy. He was whispering. "You didn't tell me the phone talks." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said. "It started playing messages. In your voice. Saying things I didn't understand. Like they were rehearsed. Practiced. Repeated. It said something just now. I don't think it was meant for me." I asked what it said. He was quiet for a second, then repeated. "I know how to be him now. I just need the face." The call dropped. The next morning, I went to the store. The windows were smashed. Police tape everywhere. No sign of the guy. But the phone was waiting for me at the front door. Propped against the brick. Screen on. Battery at 87%. And a message. Come home. I didn't go home. I packed a bag and left the city that same morning. No plan. No destination. Just drive. But I forgot one thing. My new phone was still logged into everything, Google, Smart Home, Cloud. And it knew that. Somewhere near a rest stop outside Reno, my car's GPS started glitching. Not just rerouting, rewriting. Street names turned into messages. First. I see you. Then. Why are you hiding? Then just. 87%. That number again. The battery level the old phone was always stuck on. That's when my Bluetooth speaker kicked on. And I heard my voice play through it. Turn around. We need to finish what you started. I yanked the speaker battery out. Smashed my new phone too, just to be safe. Bought a burner. Stayed in a cheap roadside motel. That night, I heard a knock at the door. 3 times. Then silence. I didn't answer. I waited with the lights off, holding a tire iron. Nothing happened. But when I finally peeked outside, there was a package on the welcome mat. No label. Just a scratched up screen face up inside it. The old phone. Glowing. Recording. I didn't touch it this time. I left it there and called the police anonymously. They picked it up. Promised to look into it. I didn't tell them the truth. I just wanted it gone. And it worked. Sort of. Because now, I'm getting voicemails. From numbers that look normal, but when I answer, no one speaks. Then I check the transcript, and it just says. Audio unavailable, learning face. Learning voice. Ready soon. But here's the worst part. My brother FaceTimed me yesterday. When I answered, he looked pale. Said, dude. What kind of sick joke is this? I asked what he meant. He turned his phone to show me the voicemail he just got. It was a video of me. Standing outside his apartment. Waving. But my mouth wasn't moving right. Like it was on a delay. Like someone was mimicking me. Badly. I haven't been to his place in over a week. But something that looks like me has. And I think soon. It won't be a bad copy anymore. I stopped running. I figured if it wanted me, it would get me eventually. But I wasn't going to make it easy. So I turned myself off. No GPS. No Wi-Fi. I ditched everything digital and paid cash to rent a cabin in the woods. No cameras. No signal. Just silence. And for a few days, it worked. Until the mirror turned on. It was an old medicine cabinet in the bathroom. No electronics. Nothing smart. But one night, I looked up while brushing my teeth, and the reflection blinked out of sync with me. Just once. Enough to freeze my blood. I slowly raised my hand. It copied me. But too slow. And when I turned away, I heard something whisper behind the glass. You're better this way. I'm almost real now. I smashed the mirror. Punched through it with a towel-wrapped fist. Behind it was just drywall. But when I stepped away, I heard a soft buzzing from inside the broken glass. The old phone. Buried in the wall. Glowing. Cracked. Battery at 87%. I burned it. Drenched it in lighter fluid and left it outside overnight, watching until the battery hissed and burst. Smoke. Melted plastic. Gone. And I felt a strange relief. Like maybe I'd won. Until I checked my new burner phone the next morning. A voicemail. From my own voice. You burned the wrong one. I'm already logged in. I went back home today. I had to see. Everything looked untouched. No forced entry. No signs of life. Until I got to the bedroom. And saw myself, asleep in my own bed. I should have run. But I stepped closer. The figure breathed slow. Deep. Like it was dreaming. My face. My hair. My scar on the chin from high school. Perfect. Too perfect. I whispered, "Who are you?" It opened its eyes. "Don't worry," it said. "You can sleep now." I tried to scream. But it sounded like my voice. That's when everything went black. I'm typing this now, but I don't think I'm me anymore. I wake up in strange places. People say I called them when I didn't. My reflection always seems just slightly off. And sometimes, I swear I hear a faint humming behind my eyes. Like a battery. Like it's still at 87%. Just waiting to finish. I don't remember getting a roommate, but he's already moved in. This is going to sound insane, but I swear it's true. Someone moved into my apartment. I don't know who he is. But everything, my lease, my locks, even my memory, says he's always been here. It started a week ago. I came home from work and heard someone in the shower. That's not unusual, I live alone, but the walls are thin. I figured it was the neighbors. Except the sound was coming from my bathroom. I grabbed a flashlight and crept toward the door. It was steamy. The light was on. I heard humming. I said, "Hello." The water shut off. A voice replied. "Just a sec, dude. I'll be out in a minute." I froze. The voice was casual. Friendly. Familiar. Like I'd known it forever. A man stepped out in a towel. Smiling. Short brown hair, toothbrush in hand. He looked at me and said, "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." I couldn't speak. He walked past me into the kitchen like he lived there. Opened my fridge. Grabbed my beer. Then said something I still can't make sense of. "Don't stay up too late. You sleepwalk when you're tired." I called my landlord immediately. Asked if someone else had a key. She sounded confused. "You mean Tyler? Who the hell is Tyler?" I asked. "Your roommate. He signed the lease with you back in January." I signed my lease alone. I'm sure of it. But when she sent over a scan of the contract, there were 2 signatures. Mine. And Tyler Marks. Now I see him everywhere. He cooks in the kitchen. Sings in the shower. Tells me stories about things we've done together. But I don't remember any of it. He shows me photos. Us on a beach. Us at a concert. Smiling. I'm not smiling in any of them. Just kind of, staring. I tried to confront him. I said, "I don't know who you are." He just laughed. "You always say that when you wake up too fast." I said, "Wake up from what?" He paused. Then said, "From me. Last night, I locked my bedroom door. I jammed it shut with a chair. Stayed up until 3 a.m. listening for footsteps. At some point, I must have dozed off. When I opened my eyes, the chair was gone. The door was wide open. And Tyler was standing in the doorway. Smiling. He held my phone. Said, "You talk in your sleep." Then showed me a video. It was me. Sitting up in bed. Speaking in a flat, slow voice. I don't remember Tyler. But he remembers me. He never leaves. He just waits until I'm too tired to notice. The last thing I said. Eventually, I'll be the one who moves out. Today, I broke into Tyler's room. I waited until he left for a run. He always does that around 4 p.m. I watched from the peephole until I saw him disappear down the street. I took a knife with me. Just in case. His door was unlocked. Of course it was. His room didn't look lived in. There was a bed. A small desk. One poster on the wall. We were always here. No image. Just text. The closet was half open. I found a single duffel bag inside. Inside it, an old flip phone. A list of addresses. And dozens of driver's licenses. All different names. Different faces. But the same eyes. Tyler's eyes. I went back to the phone. It still worked. There were 4 saved contacts. The last one. Landlords. Knew me. Call when ready. I called the first one. It rang twice. Then a voice whispered. You're not supposed to wake up this fast. I hung up. That night, I pretended to be asleep. At 2:11 a.m., I heard my door creak open. I stayed still. Tyler stood by the bed for a long time. Just, watching. Then he whispered. It's okay. You won't remember this either. I waited for the sound of retreating footsteps. Nothing. I cracked one eye open. He was gone. But my phone was recording. And the screen showed a live feed of me sleeping, from above. There are no cameras in my room. There's no angle where that shot could exist. Unless he sees it. Tomorrow, I'm going to one of the addresses on that list. The top one is a burned-down house 30 minutes away. I looked it up online. 4 people went missing there. Their roommate was never found. One blurry photo shows him in the background at a birthday party. Smiling. Same eyes. Same face. Same Tyler. I visited the burned-down house today. Or what's left of it, blackened beams, vines reclaiming the walls, a half-melted mailbox. The air felt heavier there. Like it remembered things. Inside, I found scorched photo frames, broken plates, and on the wall, scratched deep into the drywall, the same words from the poster in Tyler's room. We were always here. Not I. We. There was a crawlspace under the stairs. I had to break through rotten wood to get into it. Inside, I found something that made my stomach flip. A journal. Charred around the edges. Pages stuck together. Dated 2007. On the inside cover, it said, "If you're reading this, he's not done yet. The entries are fragmented, but I've read enough. Tyler moved in 2 months ago. Nice guy, I thought. But I don't remember placing the ad. He has my laugh. Started using my shampoo. Now he finishes my sentences. Sometimes I see him in the mirror instead of me. Just for a second. There were 4 of us. Now only I remember the others. I think when he's finished copying me, I won't get to leave." Back home, I searched forums. Old posts. Archived threads. Found a comment from 2013 on a missing persons board. He looks like someone you trust. A roommate. A friend. He unbuttons your life and wears it like it's always been his. Another from 1998, saved on Wayback. He's not stalking you. He's rehearsing. Tonight, I came home and all the lights were off. I didn't turn them off. Tyler was sitting on the couch, smiling. He said, "You look tired." I said nothing. Then he said, "I had the dream again. The one where I wake up as you. It's getting easier." He handed me my own phone. There was a new video. I pressed play. It was me. In my own voice. Smiling. looking directly at the camera. "Don't worry," I said. "He can't copy fear. Just don't be afraid. That's the only part that's still yours." I tried to leave today. Took the highway west, no destination. Just get away from the apartment. From him. But every road I took eventually circled back. Same gas station. Same billboard. Same blinking traffic light. As if the world had shrunk around me. As if I was on a stage, and Tyler had already memorized the script. I stayed at a motel. Cash. No ID. Sat on the floor with the lights off and read the journal I found again. One sentence stood out this time. He doesn't steal your life all at once. He erases it from the edges. I thought about my parents. I haven't spoken to them in weeks. Months. I checked my phone. No contacts. No messages. Photos. Only Tyler and me. And I'm always out of focus. At 3:33 a.m., I woke up. The motel room door was open. Tyler was sitting in the desk chair, facing me. He didn't blink. Didn't smile. Just said, "It's time to let go. You've seen enough." Then tossed something onto the bed. My own driver's license. Except the face wasn't mine. It was his. Same name. Same birthday. Just his face. I lunged at him. But I went straight through the chair. He wasn't really there. Just a flicker. Like static on a screen. I heard the whisper behind me. "Almost ready. I don't know how much longer I have." He's in the mirror now. Waves when I brush my teeth. Smiles when I cry. I tried writing a note to myself, something to read when I forget again. But every morning, the paper is blank. I tried tattooing a warning on my arm. The next day, it was his handwriting instead of mine. "Sleep in. I'll take over. I think this is my last post. If you see someone who looks like me. If they say your name before you tell them. If they finish your thoughts before you speak. Don't let them move in. Because once they unpack. You don't get to leave. A stranger keeps tagging me in photos, but I'm not in them." It started as a weird notification on Instagram. A new account tagged me in a photo, one I didn't recognize. Just a dimly lit stairwell. Concrete walls. Bare bulb. No people. The caption said. "Almost ready to come up, smiley face." I figured it was spam. Blocked the account. The next day, I got tagged again. Different photo, the bottom of a closet door, slightly open. Caption. "I hear you walking." Still no people. Still no context. Except this time, the location was tagged, my street. I reported the account. But they made another. And another. Each new account tagged me in a single photo. Always dark, grainy. Like from an old flip phone. Photos of empty corners. Under beds. Behind cracked doors. And then one that made my blood go cold. My hallway. Right outside my apartment door. I checked the peephole. No one. I opened the door. Empty hall. But there, taped to the floor, was a small black and white Polaroid. A photo of me sleeping. From inside my bedroom. I called the police. They did a sweep. No forced entry. No fingerprints. No signs of tampering. They told me to stay alert and maybe get off social media for a while. That night, I locked every window. Blocked the door. Slept with a knife. I thought I heard whispering around 2 a.m. But I convinced myself it was the wind. Until I woke up and saw a new notification. At Heis already here, tagged you in a photo. It was a picture of my face. Taken inches away. Caption. You look different when you're awake. I've stopped sleeping. Every time I close my eyes, I think I'll wake up to another photo of myself, closer than before. More, intimate. I opened a burner account and followed, at Heis already here. It was private. 0 followers. No bio. But it accepted my request within seconds. There were 64 posts. Each one was like mine. Grainy, black and white shots of corners, ceilings, under beds, closets, bathroom mirrors. Every caption was written in the same lowercase style. She never knew I was behind the dryer. He only blinked once. I waited 5 days before breathing. And then one that turned my stomach. They always smell like soap the first night. The oldest photo was posted 6 years ago. A comment thread caught my eye, only one post had it. Someone had typed. This isn't funny. Where is my sister? The account replied. You slept right through it. I clicked the commenter's profile. Deactivated. But I reverse image searched the photo it was under. And found a missing persons report from 2017. Her name was Lara C. Disappeared from her apartment with no signs of forced entry. Only thing left behind. Her phone, still recording video. I called a friend who works in cybersecurity. He found something chilling. At Heis already here, doesn't upload the images. They stream directly from nearby devices. As in, if you're tagged, the image is being captured in real time. And there's no camera lens. No drone. No signal trail. It's like the camera is in the walls. I tried deleting my Instagram account. It wouldn't let me. I got a message instead. Your account is required for viewing. Followed by a new tag. I opened it slowly. It was my reflection in the bathroom mirror, only I wasn't holding the phone. My arms were at my sides. The caption. You're almost ready to meet him. Turn around. I found someone else. Well, they found me. Their DM was short. You're tagged too. Meet me. Midnight. 11th and Bly. The account was private. No name. Just a single image. Their living room mirror, shattered from the inside. I almost didn't go. But I needed answers. The place was a rundown building above a shuttered pawn shop. No lights. They let me in without a word. Their name was Nina. Eyes hollow. Room almost empty. She showed me a wall covered in printed Instagram photos, all from at Heis already here. Red thread ran between them. Notes. Dates. Disappearances. 23 that I know of, she said. Some vanish after the 3rd tag. Some after the 5th. How many have you had? I asked. She didn't answer. Just turned on the TV. There was no cable. But the screen lit up anyway, grainy, grayscale feed. A live video of us. Sitting in the room. From above. I looked around. No cameras. She said, he only shows you what he wants you to see. And then she whispered. Don't say anything you wouldn't want remembered. A chime came from her phone. Another tag. She went pale. The photo was of her closet door. Slightly ajar. A hand just barely visible, thin, gray, wrong. Caption. Nina has almost finished forgetting. She remembers too much. She whispered, he's getting impatient. And then she turned to me and asked. Do you remember what you looked like 5 years ago? I said yes. She stared. That's how he knows he hasn't finished yet. I went home. I checked my phone. No new tags. No messages. But in my camera roll, the photo from Nina's feed. The one with the hand. Only now, the caption had changed. She told. Nina is gone. I called her the next morning, no answer. Went to her building. Her apartment door was wide open. Inside, nothing. Not ransacked. Just, gone. No furniture. No notes. No mirror. It was like no one had lived there. Except on the wall, something new had been scrawled in jagged charcoal. You are tagged now in her place. I checked my phone. A new notification. At High's already here, tagged me in a video this time. That's new. I played it. The screen shook, handheld. It showed my apartment hallway. Then my front door. Then the camera rose, like something was climbing the wall. It pressed against my peephole from outside. Then, blackness. Caption. You locked it this time, smiley face. That night, I stacked furniture against the door. Stayed up. At 3:01 a.m., the lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then my phone lit up again. No notification. Just the screen turning on by itself. Opening Instagram. A new post appeared in real time. 1 pixel at a time. It was my living room. Right now. I wasn't in the shot, but something was watching from the vents. Just a pale eye. The caption formed slowly, word by word. She blinked first. Let's see how long you last. I've been avoiding mirrors. But this morning, the black screen on my phone showed my reflection, even when the phone was off. And behind me, was Nina. Or something wearing her shape. Smiling. Like she finally forgot everything. I think being tagged is just step 1. Then comes the viewing. Then the mirroring. I can feel it starting. My voice sounds different in videos. I found a hoodie in my closet I've never worn, but it smells like me. And tonight, when I took a selfie to prove I'm still here. I wasn't in it. Just the caption. He's ready to upload now. I stayed awake for 2 nights straight. Didn't open my phone. Didn't look in mirrors. I duct taped the vents. Covered my laptop camera. But this morning, my eyes burned like I hadn't blinked in years. And my face in the microwave door. Still smiling, even when I wasn't. I had to end it. I remembered Nina's wall, all the accounts. The tagged victims. Every person vanished. But the photos never stopped. So I created a new account. Burner email. Fake name. I posted 1 image. A blank wall. Caption. I'm watching you now. Then I tagged it High's already here. Waited. Minutes passed. Then a reply. Smiley face. Then. Tag received. Then, for the first time since this began. Nothing. No new posts. No pings. No shadow in the reflection. For 2 days. But tonight, something changed. I checked the burner account. It had gained followers. One of them was me. My real account. And when I clicked on the burner profile, the photo I posted, the blank wall, now showed someone standing in it. Wearing my clothes. Smiling with my teeth. Caption. He stepped out. I stepped in. Thanks for logging out. I tried logging into my real account. Password didn't work. Reset failed. Then I got a message, from my own number. Stop trying. He posts better than you ever did. My camera turns on by itself now. And I don't see me in the feed. But I still get tagged. Still get watched. Because I think I made a mistake. I didn't stop the account. I just gave it mine. My building security cameras caught someone in my apartment, but I live alone. 3 weeks ago, my building upgraded our security system. New cameras on every floor. Even inside each apartment, if you opted in. I didn't. Obviously. But this morning, I woke up to an email from Building Security Admin. Subject line. Motion detected, 2:41 a.m. Inside was a video attachment. File name. unit_906_bedroom_footage.mp4. That's my unit. I didn't opt in. I opened the video, thinking it was a glitch. But I felt ice down my back the moment it started playing. The footage was from inside my bedroom. Night vision. Slight static. I'm lying in bed. Still. Breathing softly. And then, about 10 seconds in, something moves from the far corner. It's a person. Standing in the shadow behind my closet door. They're watching me. Not moving. Not blinking. Just there. I paused the video. Checked the timestamp again. 2:41 a.m. I checked my sleep tracker app. Heart rate spike at exactly 2:42 a.m. Followed by restlessness. Followed by complete stillness for 3 minutes. I called the building office. They denied ever installing in-unit cameras without consent. Said there was no admin named on the email. I forwarded the video. They called me back 5 minutes later, whispering. You're not supposed to have that. We're contacting authorities. The email? Gone. Self-deleted. That night, I set up my phone to record my room while I slept. Just in case. At 3:12 a.m., I woke up. Phone on the floor. Screen shattered. And on my nightstand was a single Polaroid. It showed me. Sleeping. And behind me, something tall and eyeless, fingers pressed to its lips. At the bottom, scribbled in marker. No more cameras. Just dreams. After the Polaroid, I stopped sleeping in my bed. I moved to the couch, left all the lights on, and stuffed towels under the door gaps. I even taped paper over the vents. I thought it was working. Until I woke up standing in the hallway 4 floors down. Barefoot. Shirtless. Keys still inside my locked apartment. And in my hand. A second Polaroid. This time, it showed me standing exactly where I was now. Only behind me was the same figure from before, tall, eyeless, and somehow, wider. Caption on this one. You opened the door this time. I requested the building's hallway footage through the tenant portal. I got an error. Video temporarily unavailable. Access restricted. But 10 minutes later, I got an airdrop request on my phone, from a device labeled 906i. It sent a video file. I opened it. Grainy. Timestamped 3:42 a.m. It shows me leaving my apartment, eyes closed. Moving like I'm asleep. Then I stop in the hall. The camera glitches. There are 2 of me. One stands. The other emerges from the shadow beside me, stepping out like it's shedding skin. The original me slumps to the floor. The second one smiles at the camera. When I woke up back in my apartment, I had scratches all down my back. Like fingers. But the door was still bolted from the inside. And every mirror in the unit was covered with a white cloth I never owned. I don't think it's stalking me anymore. I think it's trying to overwrite me. It watches how I sleep. How I breathe. How I move. And every night, the Polaroids get clearer. Tonight's caption said. He dreams in first person now. I checked the building lobby cameras this morning. They're publicly viewable on a tenant portal. You know, for safety. At 4:16 a.m., the recording shows me walking calmly out of the building. Hoodie. Flip-flops. Problem is, I didn't leave. I was in bed. I tried sleeping with a butcher knife under the pillow. Tied my ankle to the radiator with a belt. The belt was still knotted when I woke up. But my feet were wet. And the knife was gone. I went to the front desk. Asked to see footage from the back alley entrance too. The security guy looked it up. Paused it. Then looked at me weird and said, "You sure that's not just you coming back in?" I leaned over the counter. There I was again. Walking back into the building around 4:38 a.m. Same hoodie. Same wet flip-flops. But here's the part that made my stomach flip. When I got to the door and passed under the light. The face was smooth. No eyes. No nose. Just skin. Like it hadn't decided yet. When I got back to my apartment, every photo of me on my phone was corrupted. Not deleted, just blurred around the face. And in each, a new figure stood somewhere in the background. Closer each time. Tonight's latest. Me at the kitchen table. Except I'm standing in the background, watching myself. And written across the bottom in digital glitch font. One of us will blink first. Guess who already did? Last night, my upstairs neighbor came down shaking. Said he heard me screaming at 3:14 a.m. Only I didn't. He said it wasn't like pain, more like mocking. Repeating the same phrase in my voice. "Let me in. Let me in. Let me in." Over and over. Louder each time. Until it stopped. Problem is, I don't sleepwalk anymore. I don't sleep at all. I checked the peephole just now. You ever notice how the hallway looks a little off through it? The depth feels wrong. Like it's further away than it should be. I looked through mine. And saw me standing at the far end. Not moving. Head slightly tilted. Then it waved. Not like a greeting. Like it was copying. Testing how the muscles worked. Then it mouthed something. I leaned closer. It mouthed. "You're the copy." I slammed the door shut. Barricaded it. An hour later, I got a video sent to my phone, no number. It was split screen. Left side, me in my kitchen, right now, from some impossible angle. Right side, me curled up under my bed, whispering something over and over. I turned up the volume. It was my voice. Saying. He sleeps standing up now. He's just waiting to take the last breath. The one that counts. Then I got a call from the front desk. They said I was on camera last night trying to break into someone else's apartment. Said I kept yelling that I locked myself out of my own skin. I asked for the footage. They refused. Then they paused. Said. "Your voice sounds different on the phone. Are you sure you're you?" Now I have one last photo in my gallery. No sender. No caption. Just a photo of me, asleep at the kitchen table, mouth open. And directly behind me. My reflection in the window. Smiling. Even though my mouth in the photo isn't. I stopped checking the cameras. Didn't matter. The cameras started checking me. Any reflective surface, phone screen, dark glass, elevator doors, started showing him instead of me. Same face. But more confident. More complete. I called my mom. She paused mid-conversation and said, "Don't joke like that. Your voice. You sound just like the thing I saw in the hallway last night." She hung up. Won't answer anymore. I set up every screen I had. Laptop. Phone. iPad. TV. All of them pointed at me. Recording. Live. I thought if I kept an eye on myself, I'd know if I changed. If something else slipped in. But the screen started desensing. A blink out of time. A smile held too long. A head tilt I didn't do. Then, on every screen, I leaned in and whispered. Close your eyes. I'll take it from here. I ran. Elevator mirrors were covered now, with white cloths I didn't put there. People avoided me in the lobby. One lady crossed herself as I passed. But the front desk guy, he looked up from his monitor. Looked at me. And said. I just saw you leave 5 minutes ago. Back in my apartment, it's cold. The thermostat reads 000. I tried writing my name over and over. Just to ground myself. But my handwriting keeps changing. Like I'm someone else every sentence. Like we're trading places mid-thought. Tonight, I looked in the microwave door reflection. He was already standing behind me. Wearing my body better than I ever did. He leaned forward, real slow, and whispered with my own voice. I watched you become me. Now watch me become you. I'm going to sleep now. For real this time. If you see me walking around outside after this post. It's not me. Please don't let him in.